Kamera läuft.
Kamera läuft.
3, 2, 1, action.
So in late September of 2020, some friends on Facebook connected me with this film contest from the world of Hans Zimmer. They basically were doing a film contest, and it was to kind of create videos that represented or could be used as music videos for the music from Hans Zimmer. It was really interesting for me, something I felt was potentially a great challenge and something that would be a lot of fun to produce with friends. So yeah, we decided to give it a go. My name is Beol Miller, and I'm the director of the Dead Knight Rises, which entered in the World of Hans Zimmer film contest. Right out the gate, I knew that I had to work with the kind of a team of friends that I had been working with in the past, pulling from people who work in the film industry currently in Germany, but also people that work as private DPs and cinematographers. That was the beginning of creating this kind of dream team that could make it happen. And that really started with finding Julia Sam. She was the kind of the coordinator for this whole thing, I guess the best way to put it. I would say it's more of a superhuman thing, a superwoman. We couldn't have done it without her, first off. Immediately she was looking into what we could do when it came to location scouting, with planning staff for it, looking at our potential cast options. And within the first 5 days, we'd already picked a location. Julia was actually the person who brought Fjallhall to our attention and communicated with Mike, who kind of runs the village, and he was our liaison with the village and was able to communicate what we were looking to do. And we went and visited kind of under the expectation of like, okay, maybe they'll let us film here and maybe they'll allow us to shoot for an afternoon. And what turned out from that meeting was this outpouring of positivity and support from the village and the people that do the reenactment there. It's a Viking reenactment village, beautifully made, all handcrafted across the board. And they said, yeah, come on in and film and we'll play extras. And would you like us to take care of food and animals and parking? I mean, everything. They just provided so much to the production. It basically became a character in itself. The location became kind of that invisible character that brought a sense of believability to the whole production. And Mike and his whole community were invaluable to that. And Julia being able to kind of bring us into that so seamlessly was really cool. We ended up back at Julia's place after visiting the village and all sitting down together around the coffee table to talk about the timing and kind of the planning for how we plan to do the production. And all of us kind of had a moment where we stopped and just went like, holy shit, are we really gonna be able to film at this place? This is amazing. That's more than we could have ever expected. When we originally started planning for this, we were looking at, cool, how can we make a field look epic? In the end, the location became one of the most epic parts of the whole production. From there, we actually were able to work with Nina, and Nina is a costume designer in the German film industry. She does a lot of beautiful costume work, and she immediately said, I'd love to come in and help out with planning costumes and planning shoot schedules and kind of working on that screenplay. We also were able to work with Max, who's an extremely talented cinematographer from Germany and produces amazing travel stuff. We knew we wanted him involved specifically for his drone pilot work. He's amazing. And we knew that would open up a lot of opportunities for new shots. And that kind of rounded out with the final member of the team being Finn, who is an amazing filmmaker that does a lot of work commercially in Germany and has a really great eye for storytelling in film. And this kind of dream team came together within the first 10 days, actually. Pretty early on, we knew that we were going to be tapping into the existing community of people that we were passionately working with. And this largely came from the Mythodea LARP community. Thankfully, my day job as creative director at Live Adventures offered me the opportunity to have connections with a lot of amazing costume designers and role players from the LARP community. And over the course of those days, we kind of had this outpouring of passion from people who heard about the project through social media. And it offered us this huge range of people that we could select for different roles. And from that, we were able to collect almost 100 extras for this project. A lot of them being people from the Fjalldal Viking community where we shot. And initially it was kind of thought that they would kind of be the wallflowers in the scene. And in the end, it turned out that they were integral elements of making the world feel real. So we had an awesome selection of people that kind of amazingly volunteered their time. They came and camped overnight at the location. It was not warm, and the weather wasn't great. And in fact, it was kind of terrible for anything like this, but they committed to coming out and just donating their time to be part of this project. It was amazing. Festa de Vielfalt and the Ad Astra community both came out in force. We had a whole range of people from both of these groups, both of them LARP groups within the Mythodea community. And it was amazing to see how much they wanted to give. More than just being kind of roles in front of the camera, they wanted to help all over the place. So this meant we had, you know, hair and makeup, and we had fight choreography help, we had logistical help. I mean, it was amazing to see how many people wanted to just be part of it, even if they weren't in front of the camera. It was nuts. I can't even describe the amount of passion that they brought to the project that otherwise wouldn't have been possible. So one of the things that we knew right out the gate was that we were going to pick a specific song. We had looked through the catalog of potential songs, and we had found the Dark Knight Rises symphony piece, which we loved. We felt there was a lot of movement in it, and it had a lot of kind of story, and it really encouraged a lot of inner monologue within the piece that I felt was really fun. And for 3 minutes, we have to figure out something that's going to match up with the music. And this is kind of counterintuitive to producing film normally, where you would score your film based on what you're trying to portray. But when working as a music video, instead we're going the opposite direction. The story of the plot, I guess you could say, it could be summarized pretty easily, which is a village of people realize that they're about to be attacked by an unassailable force, a group of people that they know they're going to be defeated by, which is played by the undead here. And as they realize that, they have a group of people in the village who decide they're going to stay and fight, and another group of the people who decide that it's best for them to run, to try to survive. And it's the job of those warriors staying back to kind of protect that retreat. And as the story progresses and we see these moments of goodbye and the sadness of realizing that there will most likely be loss and never seeing them again, and this resilience of deciding to fight, we see Laura's character decide to come back and to stand with the warriors, but finds she's too late. And in doing so is kind of the final stroke that defeats the undead. But in the end, there's a bit of a twist, and we leave it up to the audience to kind of decide how that ending actually went. The story we really wanted to focus on was, what do we do in the face of that impenetrable darkness? What do we do when we know there is no victory, or no victory that may be possible in the way that we intend? And it's that resilience to say we're still going to fight, and we're still going to attempt to create at least a chance to say no. And that's the story that you see from the villager standpoint, that resilience to say, okay, we know this is coming, and we're not going to just lay down and die. So we made the choice pretty early that we were going to shoot chronologically, because it made sense to have the actors following the emotional structure of the music in their performances. We felt this was a really good way to try to keep people focused on where we were at in the story. So we started out with Laura right away, and we shot with the undead flesh. The song opens up with a series of really dark, heavy beats that we felt really kind of captured this idea of this approaching doom. And we use the undead flesh footsteps in the way that they're kind of stepping into the shot as this idea of this approaching evil. And then as the music opens up into the string section, we see our main protagonist, which is Laura. And she did an amazing job in this role of this innocent who is witnessing what is coming and is going back to be the harbinger of this evil as it approaches. It took a lot of kind of emotional range for her to go from, you know, fear to that resilience of like, I'm gonna warn my people, through to this moment of goodbye, and she did an amazing job of this. So opposite Laura, we wanted another very strong female character to play this kind of warrior leader within the village. It was very clear from us right out the gate that we didn't want to make a Bechdel failing film. So we wanted women in roles that were not directly supported by some kind of male next to them. And for that, we decided that Mercedes was the perfect kind of boss woman badass. And she plays this role so well. Normally she actually plays non-warrior characters in her LARP experiences, but she embodied this character so well and so quickly fell into the role that it became very believable very quick. And thanks to Mike Potter, you know, we were able to work on some choreography of training shots, and with her kind of being that warrior that over the course of the day with some practice and stunt work, she kind of embodied that warrior leader perfectly. And in addition to being the warrior, also kind of capturing a very emotional shot. There's a shot in the longhouse where she's kind of saying goodbye to Laura's character. And it's really a shot that captures that kind of forlorn hope idea. There's so many subtle little things in there that were difficult for us to shoot, but it just turned out to be such an amazing shot. It's still one of my favorites. So the name of the song, Dark Knight Rises, kind of became a bit of a pun or an unintended double entendre, because we realized we wanted to play with this Dark Knight concept, but the Dark Knight being a more literal sense of the word knight with this kind of undead knight. And we were really thankful to have the access to the Undead Flesh, which is one of the NPC groups at the Mythodea events, and they came in with all their amazing costuming and kind of filled out that role of the bad guy. We've got this really cool shot of the undead kind of cresting this hill, and it's this signal of like them approaching. And it happens right after a series of shots that we had planned out to match up with these guitar licks, or these guitar screams, I guess you could say, that we thought sounded a bit like horns. And we wanted this moment of kind of the undead arriving. And for that, you can't beat the kind of the formidable size and shape of the Undead Flesh from the Mythodea LARP events. The NPCs are the thing that the players at these LARP events need to hate and fear and want to destroy, so they need to have this menacing look about them. Despite the fact that, you know, some of them are typical size, all seem superhuman large. And the shot really captured that perfectly. Philip Knote and Thomas and Milner and Louisa, they have this kind of otherworldly, imposing posture. And they work really well for the project because they came in with that. This wasn't something that we had to develop over time. It was something that when they arrived and put their armor on, we had the look that we were looking for. They brought that, and their body language and the way that they perform in those costumes is amazing. It just absolutely brings you into the mood and understanding of you don't want to be on the other side of these guys. And they do such a great job of doing that effortlessly. One of the biggest things that we knew right out the gate was going to be the problem is that we had 1 to 2 days to film the entire project. The first day we knew that we were going to be able to film a portion of it, and the second day we knew that there was kind of the pickup and reshoot if we needed. And the amount of time we had per shot was limited to less than 8 minutes per shot and for the whole thing, which left us with this constant requirement that I didn't get to like fixated on certain shots, I guess you could say. There were a lot of things I knew I really wanted, but there needed to be a certain amount of policing the production to ensure that we hit our time goals. Otherwise, we simply weren't going to be able to shoot everything. And for this, I knew I needed somebody who could be that kind of professional, on the spot, like production manager, supervisor. And for that, the obvious choice was Nina. What she brought to the production is something that I think without it, we wouldn't have been able to really ensure that everything got shot in the way that it did. I spent maybe the first day trying to yell enough to communicate to everybody, and I realized quite quickly that my voice was going to be gone before the end of the first day, and Nina somehow has the ability to scream loud enough that people really far away can hear her clearly.
Make-up muss noch nicht fertig sein, aber eure Hintern würden wir hier sehr begrüßen.
And still not lose her voice. I sounded like a schoolboy, where I think there was a couple moments of everyone getting a nice giggle out of my voice cracking as I just simply lost my voice during the production. So Beol Miller is insane. That's the only way I can put this. The guy has an insane amount of knowledge in the equipment that he uses, into the methods that he films. His kind of cinematography style is fantastic. And he brought so much into this production, both from an equipment side and a knowledge base, that we wouldn't have been able to do any of this without him. He was amazing that he allowed us to use his camera systems. We were able to shoot on red cameras, which was way out of our budget, seeing as the budget was nothing. So having a red camera was insane. It offered us massive amounts of opportunities we wouldn't have had otherwise. His ability to kind of know where he needed to be before I even thought about it was something that I could never have asked for. I could never have expected anyone to be able to do, but he just seemed to do it. It's kind of a magic trick, actually. And without him, I don't think we would have been able to complete the project at all. So Max Boiler was kind of a wild card. We actually met Max through Julia, who was kind of our production supervisor and superwoman. It's actually a relative of hers who's an insanely good cinematographer, and also, something that we found out very quickly, an amazing drone pilot. Max came in with the understanding of like, cool, I'm gonna be a B camera DP, and I'm gonna add to the cinematography, kind of help co-direct on this whole thing. And what ended up being the case was that his drone shots were so powerful, specifically his ability to kind of place the camera exactly where we wanted, that one of my favorite shots, I think my favorite shot actually was actually of a drone shot that he took early in the production schedule. The shot required Laura to kind of run full speed through this tall grass, and I said, Max, do you think you could fly this drone sideways and match up with her running speed, despite the fact it's going to change throughout the terrain, match it up so that we can get this really dynamic shot. And I didn't expect it to happen. I just thought, okay, let's try it. And Max nailed it on the first take. But I couldn't believe that he had captured the moment. And it's still, I think it's my favorite shot from the whole production.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
Wir haben einen sehr schönen Take dabei. Wir gehen Richtung Alte Eiche.
Fuck yeah. Nice job, Max. Nice job.
Hair and makeup was also really important for us. We wanted to try to capture the right look and feel, specifically in the hairstyles for a lot of the people that were attending. And for that, Annabelle came to the rescue, an amazing hair artist who stepped in to specifically focus on the continuity of the people who were living in the village, so the village scene. So she actually went through and designed a series of hairstyles that would be continuous between the villager roles and the warriors. And she did an amazing job of this. In combination with Fabian's work with kind of addressing costume looks and working with Nina on this, we ended up with a very cohesive look to the villagers that really helped to set them aside from just being a random ragtag group of people. It made them feel cohesive, and that was really awesome. It's something that we didn't expect to be able to do on the budget we had. We also had Louisa, who is a kind of veteran of the undead flesh, who was able to go through and work with the undead flesh to make sure their makeup was on point. Having a bad guy that you're afraid of is really key, and for that Louisa was absolute pro. Her and Fabian and Annabelle really were able to ensure that the undead flesh had makeup that would last the whole day. I think despite the fact they're running around in full armor, you know, in some cases doing fight choreography. Another really important team member was actually somebody that I work with on a daily basis who stepped up and said they'd like to join the production, which was actually my production assistant, Emma, who this was actually her first production that she had worked on. And part of kind of getting everything done around the village while we were filming was kind of running back and forth and checking time and working with Nina, and Emma stepped in to do this role, and I can only imagine that she got a hell of a workout that day, because the amount of kind of running between production areas and working with different production team points became kind of a joke, where I would see her for 5 seconds and go like, cool, we really need this thing. And she'd go, okay, and then she'd disappear. It worked out where Emma was able to communicate between all the different teams in a way that when Nina said we needed to do something, kind of Emma ran off and made sure that it was gonna happen. So we had Paul as our best boy. Corona was a big factor in all of this. It was right before we went into lockdown. We knew that there was gonna be the safety and health concerns that we really needed to address. So somebody who looked at health and safety the entire time was necessary, and we thankfully had Paul who stepped in to do this role. In film, we have the best boy, and he was the bestest of boys. It was just constantly being aware of, okay, where are we at with masks? What's the sanitation look like? Are the bathrooms taken care of? Do we have, you know, hand sanitizer available at all points? It actually allowed us to take a very strenuous process that's normally already hard enough, add in Corona restrictions to it where we wanted to be safe, and then, you know, still manage to be proactive and effective as a team. It was amazing to have that, you know, on set with someone who's just focusing on that the entire time. When we started the project, we knew that we were going to need someone to help us out with some of the more complicated elements, specifically, you know, food and where we could eat. We needed kind of a safe, large space that everyone could gather at. Thankfully, Mythodea came to the rescue. They were amazing. They rolled in with this huge tent, and then on top of that offered to provide every cast member with a bottle of mead with its own label on it to kind of celebrate the fact that everyone was involved. You can't make this stuff up. It is amazing. And their contribution ensured that everyone felt comfortable and welcome and provided for throughout the whole production. It was amazing to see. Another obvious sponsor is Live Adventures, for kind of giving us access to all the different players that attended from their universe kind of to our shoot. That connection was invaluable. It's something that I wouldn't have been able to provide no matter how much time I had to prep. That and Bergschneider providing the time and assets and editing capacity and the computers for us to be able to work on this very quickly. Again, these are things that without that, we would not have been able to complete the film in the kind of short window of time that we had. The kind of the funny thing about this, and it happens on every production, is you don't, like the problems that you think are gonna be problems don't end up being problems. It's the stuff that you don't see that always ends up kind of holding you up. And for us, that turned out to actually be a combination of weather conditions on the day and light. We worked out the timing for how much we needed to shoot and did the math, and it worked out that we had 7 minutes and 35 seconds per shot. And it takes 5 minutes in some cases simply to walk between shots. So we knew immediately there was going to be problems on time. And in combination with continuity and light control, being that we don't have a closed set situation, we're dealing with the weather as it came in. We knew if it was cloudy, we needed to work while it was cloudy. If it was light, we needed to wait for other shots where we had this continuous light structure. So immediately we were fighting the weather and kind of rushing through shots as they became apparent that we needed to capture them. And this would not have been possible without Nina and Finn and Max not being absolute pros at having their equipment ready, preparing shots properly, and then just being able to go the moment we needed to. In combination with amazing extras and cast, this worked out way better than it should have. There's a series of points in the music that clearly are points of conflict. We can tell in the music that the beat has kind of come to a crescendo, and we know that the fighting would need to take place in this section. The struggle of this, though, was that the beat is kind of a driving element. It's like a hammer on a nail. You have to hit these points. And with the time schedule that we had, we needed to come up with a plan of how we could film this very quickly. And for this, Mike Potter and Nina kind of worked together along with Max and Finn to create a series of points at which we could set beats, and they could hit these for the fight choreography, to where as we edited this, it wouldn't be a struggle of finding points that were important, but they would happen organically because you have this kind of person in the background defining time.
Aus!
Stay!
Bitte Positionen halten!
One of the really cool things about working with LARPers is their sense of physicality in costume is something that you wouldn't get from normal actors unless they happen to be stunt workers or people who work in the stunt field industry, whatever you want to call it. LARPers are used to running around in armor and role-playing in costume, and this gives us the ability to kind of work very quickly through choreography that normally would take days. So we had one day while filming to plan this and to make it work. And thanks to working with LARPers as cast members, we were able to complete something that otherwise wouldn't be possible. It just simply wouldn't be doable to come up with the believable motion that we get and the believable physicality if it wasn't for the fact that almost our entire cast was LARPers. One of the tricks to kind of filming combat scenes when you're using foam weapons, specifically LARP weapons, is this issue of actually not wanting to see the contact point of the weapon. It's something that filming LARP events has kind of taught us, that if you hide that moment of contact or you make sure that that's not the focal point, you can make it a bit more believable. And this was something that we had a lot of challenges with because we needed certain points at which we had the believability of steel weapons, but we needed the safety that LARP weapons provided. So we worked a lot with Finn and with Nina, as well as with Max, to come up with a series of shots that allows us to capture the aggressiveness of combat without losing the immersion by seeing a wobbly sword kind of flex out. And I imagine there's probably, if you watch closely, some shots where you can see it, but we did want to have some steel weapons at play throughout the filming, and we picked specifically shots with our hero characters, a hero and our anti-hero. In this case, Philip Knott, who's a longtime Undead Flesh knight. He's been on a ton of different projects with both myself and with Finn. He's a very formidable guy. He's a big guy. He can be very physical and aggressive, and it was awesome to be able to understand that we had the safety aspect of working with him and with Mercedes with steel weapons, with a bit of help and safety training from Mike Potter. And this allowed us to have a couple of shots that really had a lot of realism with regard to steel weapon use. We have this shot of the two weapons meeting, and you can see the rust actually kind of bounce off of the undead's sword, and Philip did a great job of kind of selling that shot. It was really cool.
As Laura runs up, he's just gonna kind of stand there and look back, and then he's just gonna kind of look at her and hand it to her.
The idea of the story kind of progressed as we played with who we had coming in, volunteering as people who were gonna be extras or focus roles. We knew that we wanted to have this moment of Laura's character deciding that she wanted to return to the fight, that she couldn't just leave Mercedes' character there to kind of fend off the undead approaching on her own. So she has this kind of change of heart and decides, she's not gonna run, she's gonna come back. And we initially had discussed this as something where she received a dagger from Mercedes' character, and then as she gets to the wood line, she decides, okay, I'm gonna look at it and decide I have this will to fight and to return. But during production, we were thankful that one of the cast members from the village, son, was there. And he was awesome at just kind of his commitment on screen for such a young guy, and his enthusiasm to be part of it. So we decided, okay, let's have some fun with this. So we actually changed the way that scene structure was actually planned to work, and decided that his character could kind of represent youth and the future. And Laura's decision to go back and fight is kind of this statement of, I'm fighting for those who I leave behind. In this case, you know, this young boy. And we got this really great emotional scene where he hands over the dagger to her, and she kind of has that moment of realization, like, I need to go back and fight. Something we never planned, something we could never see as a potential option, but turned out to be amazing. It was really great. Music plays such an important role in the way that I approach film. I think from a very early age, music was a key factor in developing my emotional connection to certain films. I remember Lion King is a perfect example of, you know, the Circle of Life song, I guess you could say, being a good example of this. Again, by Hans Zimmer. It turns out that kind of over the course of my love of cinema, so many of Hans Zimmer's songs end up being pivotal points of inspiration for my creative process. So for me to be able to actually get a chance to produce a short film using music from a composer that is so iconic and so important to my creative development, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for me. And being able to do this wouldn't be possible without people who also had this shared passion for his music that he creates for film. And the ability for all of us to connect the music to the kind of scenes that we were developing, because the music is so beautifully written to create mood, to create feeling. It's something that so many films lack, that basically a film that's even B grade, when you throw Hans Zimmer into it, becomes a piece of masterwork instantly. The process of submitting the film was one where we knew we were kind of behind the eight ball. There's a lot of bigger productions with a lot more money involved, and we knew that our film was gonna kind of have to fight an uphill battle to get noticed. And for that, we had, you know, Toby and the Ad Astra crew, who poured so much time and effort into the social media to kind of share the film with the world. It was kind of wild to see how, if you looked up the hashtag for the contest, it seemed like the only thing you could find was our film. And that was completely, you know, to do with them and the work that they did daily to kind of share it and get it out there. It really helped for us to build an audience, people who were anticipating seeing it. And then in the end, I think that really helped to make sure that our film got noticed in a kind of a way that we wouldn't have expected otherwise. Over the course of the weeks leading up to finding out the shortlist, I think I didn't sleep as much as I probably should have. There's a lot of like just serious tension in the room. I really hope that we created something that people can be proud of. And when we finally released it and kind of heard from the judges that we had made shortlist, I was completely beside myself. I couldn't really communicate how much that meant.
A big warm welcome from Berlin to everyone coming together for the reveal of the winning entries of the Enter the World of Hans Zimmer video competition.
It didn't really start out as something where we expected to win. It's not something that we wanted to aim for this goal of winning the thing. It was a thing where we wanted to produce something we could all be proud of and that we could do together. And as a kind of a celebration of music and its role in film and how it kind of affected all of our creative processes, the things that inspire us. And to make shortlist on such an amazing list of films, yeah, it's indescribable. It's actually really indescribable.
Thank you all for your endless creativity and artisanship. There were videos with dazzling special effects, animated videos, and videos with surprising storyboards created by masters of suspense. I was so amazed with the diversity of entries, and I'm honored that my music inspired you to make these pieces of art. But most of all, thank you to all creators and to fans for your unbelievable love and inventiveness. I hope that everyone is staying safe wherever you are in the world. I cannot wait until we can all experience music together again soon.
I never thought that it'd be possible to do this at all. When I started the whole thing, I kind of expected it to be a pipe dream idea. In the end, I ended up making so many lifelong friends. It's hard to kind of somehow in words wrap up a project like this, where so many of the people that I met in the course of doing this short film became people that I talk to on a daily basis, people that I communicate life events to, people that became real friends, that came into this basically deciding, yeah, I want to be part of something fun. And in the end, kind of, it developed into this community of people that now are looking at the future of what else we can create together. The kind of bond that was created by all of the people that were involved in this project is one that will last a lifetime. And I can't wait to look forward to the next project that we work on. And there's so many potential ways that we can work together in the future that everyone has said they want to, they want to be part of whatever is next. And whatever that happens to be, I couldn't be more excited.